about how to approach the government. I asked him today to come talk to us about cryptocurrency, because cryptocurrency is getting ready to take off. They've dropped down a lot recently, but they're going to pick back up again. I think it's a good investment to get involved in. So he's going to educate us on how to get a wallet set up, how to transact with other people that have a crypto wallet. And he's going to tell you about what might be the best ones to invest in. So Glenn, why don't you go ahead and tell us all about cryptos.
Yes. Okay, well,
Hi, Tammy.
I'm sure you've all heard about Bitcoin. I started looking into Bitcoin in 2015. I had an account with Coinbase. Does anybody know who Coinbase is?
Yes.
They're based in San Francisco. They're an exchange. So I bought Bitcoin on Coinbase when all they had was Bitcoin. Today they've actually got quite a few different kinds of cryptocurrencies.
6,000.
I also bought Bitcoin prior to the halving. We're going to talk a little bit about what the halving is, because it's all in how Bitcoin is made, what it is, and why it's impossible to counterfeit. In 2016, I sold 11 Ethereum for around $7 a piece. Ethereum is now over, let me tell you what Ethereum is right now. I should have gone on to them.
About 17 or 200.
Ethereum right now is $1,782 a piece. Anyways, I currently own Ethereum, Bitcoin, Litecoin, Digibytes. I own actually a bunch more than just these. Frank is going to talk to you about an Ethereum token, which Theta is an Ethereum token, OMG is an Ethereum token, Pillar is an Ethereum token, Veritasium is an Ethereum token. And I regularly buy cryptos when I think when I have the money to spend on it. And anyway, so we're going to go into a little bit of foundational stuff about money. At common law, only gold or silver are legal tender, so if you want common law, you have to use gold or silver. Okay, if you use anything but gold or silver, you're not going to have common law. And they were talking about this with the Federal Reserve notes with carry. It's impossible to pay anything with a Federal Reserve note. The absolute best that you can do with a Federal Reserve note is to discharge debt with limited liability. That's the best you can do. And so when they send you something saying pay this, it's a perfect question to their bill is, what do you want me to pay you? I can't pay Federal Reserve notes because Federal Reserve notes don't pay anything. Anyways, there's a distinction between a debt discharged and one paid. When discharged, the debt still exists, though divested of its character as a legal obligation during the operation of the discharge. And discharge falls under the law of nations. So you have to understand that any time, if you look at the Gold Reserve Act, and I'm not sure if I have that in here, I doubt it. Copies of these documents can be found in my private group called Administrating-Your-Public-Servants, and on my website I've got a complete set of YouTube videos. I've got a YouTube channel, so if anybody wants information about that, contact me at engineerwin@yahoo.com, and donations to support this work are appreciated. And this is a way that I deal with the IRS okay, because IRS doesn't want to talk to me, and I kind of like it that way. And so I always say that I prefer gold to silver coin. The tax is through the use of the private money system. When you're using Federal Reserve notes, that's why the tax. There's people that I know that went to jail, and there's people I know that have, I'm not sure if you know about these gaming machines, these casinos and stuff like that. Well, again, there's nothing stopping you. There's people I've heard of, there's people I've met that have casinos in Texas, but they have a sign at the front door and it says, "We don't accept Federal Reserve notes. No Federal Reserve notes allowed." And they don't come and mess with them. And the reason is because Federal Reserve notes are not involved. If you use the private money system, they can regulate that. They cannot regulate gold or silver coin. So that's why I put it in there. I prefer gold or silver coin, but that's an extremely less desirable alternative. I can accept the military script, the fake money, the IOUs, the Federal Reserve notes, the fake August checks, money orders, send me an email for particulars. Oh, here it is, Gold Reserve Act of 1934. As used in this act, the term the United States means government of the United States. The term currency of the United States means currency which is legal tender in the United States and includes United States notes and Federal Reserve notes. So, you have to understand, again, that technically the Federal Reserve notes are only meant for internal use of the government. If you're using Federal Reserve notes, or if they're wanting Federal Reserve notes from you, they're accusing you of being a government employee. That's why you file a bar grievances, and Kerry was talking about that too. Because when they're wanting Federal Reserve notes from you, or doing anything that could potentially involve Federal Reserve notes, they're accusing you of being a government employee. And so, that's a bar member. There's a bar member behind that, guaranteed, every time. And that's perjury of oath, because they can only require gold or silver coin, because they have an oath that says they support and defend the Constitution. And the Constitution is the supreme law of the land. That's, when Randy Kelton speaks, he says that the bar members are the low-hanging fruit, and they are. Because they are sitting there hanging out there, and you can go after them, and those are the ones I like to go after, because they are the low-hanging fruit. Anyways, Federal Reserve notes are not commercial paper. Federal Reserve notes are a forced loan. That's why Kerry has that Form 1020 that works so good. Federal Reserve notes are IOUs. All commercial paper falls into two categories. It's either a promissory note or an IOU. A requirement for a promissory note is it has to have a promise to pay. And a Federal Reserve note, it used to be gold or silver certificates. Remember way back when they had these? And it'd say on there that you could go get some gold or silver from the Treasury. Okay, that was a promissory note. Well, nowadays it just says this note is legal tender. Well, then that means that it's not a promissory note. That means it's an IOU. So some guy promised to pay me, when he pays me, I'll pay you. and I always, when I spend those things, I always tell the clerks at the store, "You guys take IOUs? Oh, no, we don't take them. You guys take banknotes? Oh, no, we don't take them. Well, how about these? Oh, yeah, we'll take those." And so it's a little bit of education. You got to educate these people that are, their lack of education, I guess you might say. Anyways, this is the Libra Code, General Orders 100, Article 37. United States acknowledge and protect hostile countries occupied by them. We're under a military occupation here in Texas. Have been since 1862. Religion, morality, strictly private property, the persons of the inhabitants, especially those of women, the sacredness of domestic relations, offenses to the contrary shall be rigorously punished. This rule does not interfere with the right of the victorious invader to tax the people or their property, to levy forced loans. Okay, there's actually a Supreme Court case that talks about that they're the forced loans of 1862 and 1863. In despotic governments, the government has usurped in a similar manner both upon the state and the people, hence all arbitrary doctrines, pretensions concerning the supreme, absolute, uncontrollable power of government in each man is degraded from the prime rank which he ought to hold in human affairs. In the latter, the state as well as the man is degraded. Of both degradations, striking instances occur in history and politics and in common life, and that's what's going on today. We have a military dictatorship. Banknotes constitute a large and convenient part of the currency of our country, and by common consent, you have to agree to it. There's no one that says that you have to take that Federal Reserve note. Nobody has to accept those things. Serve a great extent of all purposes of coin in themselves. They're not money, they are not legal tender, and yet they are good tender unless specifically objected to as being notes merely, not money. They subserve the purposes of money in the ordinary business of life by mutual consent, express or implied of the parties to a contract, and not by the binding force of any common usage, for the party to whom they be tendered has an undoubted right to refuse accepting them as money. And cryptocurrency is not a forced loan, okay? That's the important thing. Anything can be used as a means of exchange as long as we agree to it.
Lynn, define forced loan again, if you would.
Sorry?
Forced loan, how would you define that?
Federal Reserve notes a forced loan.
Okay.
Forced loans of 1862 and 1863. There's a Supreme Court case. I'm not sure if I have it in here. I might not have it in here. But the forced loan, again, what it comes down to is, if you think about it, what happened in 1862 and 1863 is Lincoln, the bankers offered to finance the war, the Civil War for 25% interest. And Lincoln says, whoa, I can't do that. That's probably why they killed him. But anyways, so he went and just issued treasury notes. Okay, so that's where they first started, treasury notes, okay? And in fact, I didn't bring one, but I've got one. I've got a treasury note. It's a $5 bill that was issued during the Kennedy administration. And it says, United States note. That's a treasury note.
During the, they were called greenbacks, by the way. So if you want,
Right. Right.
We can look them up on the internet. They got pictures of them.
Yeah, I'll bet you there is.
They'll be during Lincoln's time.
But so the point being is that those are forced loans. There's a Supreme Court. So essentially what's happening is they're forcing you to loan the government money. Okay? When like, and what it was is that's how they paid their employees. That's how they paid the soldiers in the Civil War and government employees. So the government employees were forced to loan the government money. And that's how they paid them. And so then they gradually tried to take them out of the system. But they've actually, every once in a while, like during the Kennedy administration, they issued some. Kennedy was basically telling the banksters, that's why they killed him, I think. Because he was basically telling them that your days are up. We're gonna get rid of you guys. And he turned up dead. Anyways, one of the first things that Johnson did on the airplane back from Dallas was to recall, I think it was like $6 trillion or it was $5 billion worth of U.S. Treasury notes that Kennedy had issued. And I've got one of them, or two of them, that they have red ink on them. And anyways, so banks all fall under international law. Military dictatorship falls under international law. The Uniform Commercial Code falls under international law. All these codes, rules, and regulations are international law. You have to understand what's happening and how it's happening. But in considering the question before us, it must be borne in mind that there is no law of nations standing between the people of the United States and their government and interfering with their relation to each other. The powers of the government and the rights of the citizens under it are plausible practical regulations plainly written down. The people of the United States have delegated to it certain enumerated powers and forbidden it to exercise others. The founding fathers really understood the threats to the Constitution because they put so many little jewels in that Constitution. It's just so powerful. And no other country on the planet can claim something like this. You know, you have the people in communist Canada. I mean, those people up there, I got family in Canada. And they're screwed, basically, because they got nothing. We have the supreme law of the land. The Constitution, Article 6 says it's the supreme law of the land. And it's hard to argue against that. Anyways, The forced loans of 1862 and 1863 in the form of legal tender notes were vital forces in the struggle for national supremacy. They formed a part of the public debt of the United States. That's U.S. Supreme Court again, Juilliard versus Greenman. During the Civil War, they paid government employees with treasury notes. Government employees were forced to loan the government money. When the government employees are paid treasury notes or bank notes, it's a forced loans. Both are government debts. Forced loans is probably the single most important thing for a military dictatorship. It makes it so the courts presume that you do not pay a debt. And the courts work on presumption. Everything is on presumption. It makes everybody into paupers, and paupers have no rights except what they allow you to have. That's why I carry in my wallet this. This is a Silver Eagle. It's $1. So I'm not a pauper. Because it doesn't matter how many Federal Reserve notes, you can have billions of those things in your wallet, and they are IOUs. They're not even a promissory note.
Do you know my friend Daria?
No, I don't.
She's right there.
Okay, well that's good. I hope you guys are having fun.
Sorry.
She accidentally found my food there.
Say hi to everybody.
All right. Gold is the money of kings, silver is the money of gentlemen, barter is the money of peasants, and debt is the money of slaves. There's a distinction between, and we talked about this already, between a debt discharged and one paid. When discharged, the debt still exists, so divested of its character as a legal obligation during the operation of discharge. That's why I like cryptocurrencies, because it's barter, okay, is what it is. Barter is the money of peasants. You're still not a slave, okay? And you can use anything you want to trade. You're trading is what you're doing. That's why I like cryptocurrencies. Federal Reserve was set up under the insurance laws of the United States. Federal Reserve notes are considered quote-unquote worthless insurance script. Technically, anything purchased with worthless insurance script is the property of the issuer of the script. Taxes are the fee for using the private money system. This is 18 U.S.C. Section 8. Kerry was showing that here earlier. The term obligation or other security of the United States includes all bonds, certificates of indebtedness, national bank currency, Federal Reserve notes, Federal Reserve bank notes, United States notes, Treasury notes. Okay, so those are all debt. And then in 31 U.S.C. 3124, stocks and obligations of the government are exempt from taxation. So they went and passed this $2 trillion stimulus package back last year, and they're trying to get some sort of infrastructure stimulus package. The communists are proposing $2,000 a month for each man and woman in the economy until the economy is back. And you know, when we started off today, I was playing a Cliff High video, and I'm going to continue playing that video. Cliff High is a brilliant guy. And I want to play that, and we'll play it as much as we can. He talks about what happened. He says that during the French Revolution, he said that the reason that the French Revolution happened in 1789, something like that, that the women could not, they could sit there and go out and work, and they couldn't make enough money just to pay for food alone. And the women said, enough of this crap. And the women were behind the French Revolution, and they took all those elites and they went and cut their heads off. Said, okay, that's it. And so that's what happened.
Hell hath no fury.
Huh?
Hell hath no fury.
Well, the point is that you know, the elite know that we have limits. They can only push us so far, and we're going to stand up. And so they are walking on eggshells right now. But so that's why they want to. They're putting out something so that we have something. You see what I'm saying? All of the stimulus will be paid to anyone with a Social Security number in the form of Federal Reserve notes. Okay. They're forced loans. The term federal personnel means any officers, employees of the government of the United States, members of the uniformed services, including members of the reserve component, and individuals entitled to receive immediate or deferred retirement benefits under any retirement program of the government of the United States. So what they're essentially saying there is that anybody with a social security number is a government employee.
So didn't they do exactly this for every single socialistic?
Absolutely.
Gone into.
That's
Yeah.
exactly it. Okay, unless you show them that you're a government employee by producing a social security number, you cannot have access to any of that. Hyperinflation is caused by the velocity of currency. Quantitative easing failed to cause hyperinflation because they gave it to the banksters who invested it in stocks, and mostly the stocks got inflated. Velocity is the number of times currency changes hands, okay? So in Weimar Germany, hyperinflation, people would run to the store with a wheelbarrow full of money and nothing would be there to buy. In hyperinflation, supply lines break down because truckers lose money at the time, in the time it takes to deliver the loads and get paid. So and when you get really bad inflation, what will happen is, like if you go to a restaurant, right? When you get really bad inflation, you have to negotiate for your meal up front and pay for it up front. And then they'll bring you the meal.
Because the value of the dollar is changing so
Because
fast.
the value of the dollar is going down the tubes, and between the time that you sit down and the time you're done the meal, it will become worth less and less and less. And so you have to pay for it up front, and essentially they have to go and get all of the stuff for the food and cook the food. And, I mean, it's just a really, really disastrous situation.
Well, Glenn,
Uh-huh.
in that case, because money is deteriorating in value, or the dollar, let's say, the fiat money is deteriorating in value so fast that people seek to acquire goods immediately and stockpile it, and therefore the shelves are empty and they can't resupply adequately because of the fact of the falling of the digital currency value, I mean the fiat currency value.
Yeah.
And so it exacerbates the
Right.
inflation and
That's
the,
true.
and the scarcity and the increase in value, because scarcity is what increases the value. So
Well, and all of those kinds of things happen. I would encourage everybody that we all need to be preppers. And the reason we need to be preppers is not just for ourselves, but for other people. We can help other people, we can be in a position to help other people. But it might come down to where, like, they want to, you look at what's happening right now in South Africa and in Cuba, okay? And Cliff High talks about that in this video. You really need to, whether we watch this video here or it's a Greg Hunter interview, USA Watchdog, I highly recommend you go home and watch this thing, because Cliff High talks about what's happening there, and he says it's going to go over the whole planet. And he says it's not going to be as bad here because of, there's some other things that are in play here that it won't be as bad, but it's going to be happening elsewhere. And so anyways, if we do get hyperinflation, the cities will be the absolute worst place to be. Because of the lockdown, farmers are destroying milk and other crops, and because restaurants are closed, okay? Well, a lot of that's turned around now. But there's still major crop failures the last 3 years in a row, and food prices are starting to climb.
You know, I was reading that in the Great Depression that you could trade an ounce of silver for $800 worth of goods or services. That's how valuable the silver became.
It was even worth more than that.
Yeah.
Anyways, so
Right here in America during the Great Depression.
Bitcoin was the first cryptocurrency. There was 21 million Bitcoins, okay, will ever be created. Bitcoin is mined. There's two ways cryptocurrencies are made. There's mined cryptocurrencies and there's bankster cryptocurrencies. Bankster cryptocurrencies, they just make them like they do Federal Reserve notes. Mined cryptocurrencies, there's a formula, it's a mathematical formula, it's decided right up front, and it cannot be changed. And so Bitcoin was the first cryptocurrency. There's going to be 21 million coins. Right now there's thousands of cryptocurrencies. If you go to a website called CoinMarketCap, they list, I think, about 3,500 or 4,500 different cryptocurrencies, and that's not all of them. They show over 5,000 cryptocurrencies on CoinMarketCap. Many are mined, okay? The mined ones are the ones that I'm interested in. Although, some people have invested, some of the Ripple, there's Cardano, that are Bankster-created coins, and some people invest in those. I think that's a mistake.
Well, you have, when
it's-
you have proof of work, which is what Bitcoin is, you have proof of stake, which is you have an investment in that entity and what they're doing, and you get a return on that. Those are the two major, and now they've got the stable coin. I don't want to confuse people, but there are those definitions that differentiate.
Right, right. And so Ethereum is a mined cryptocurrency, but some of them have a limit. I don't think Ethereum has a limit. I think it will be continually being mined. There's other cryptocurrencies that have a limit, like Bitcoin has 21 million coins, and we'll go through the halving. We'll go through what the blockchain is. We'll go through all of that stuff. But it's going to be, I don't know how many of you were here during the 1990s and that .com craze. It's going to be very similar to that. Many will explode, like in the 90s. You had Amazon.com and eBay.com, and many will disappear. And so you have to buyer beware. A blockchain, what is blockchain? A blockchain is a distributed ledger. You have to think of it this way. A blockchain is just nothing more than an address and an amount. And every time there's a transaction, all they do is they add an entry. Okay, an address and an amount. And that's it. That's nothing else to it. And so there's websites that you can go and see. You can look up the address, and it'll show you the transactions and when and all of that stuff. And so the blockchain is nothing more than an address and an amount. Now, that's why it's impossible when these mined computers, when these mined coins, it's impossible to counterfeit it, because there's hundreds of computers all around the planet that are mining this cryptocurrency, and they each have a complete set of the blockchain. And so you'd have to literally hack all these computers simultaneously and hack them at the same time. That's impossible. There's hundreds of them all around the planet, and they're all sharing information at the same time.
Glenn, may I interject this? That the chain is like a chain. Those are links, and those are the computers that are linked together. The block is when so many of those computers agree with each other about a transaction that has been mined, that blocks anybody else from using that currency, duplicating it, in other words. That's the block.
They shake hands, they confirm all of the transactions. It's done with millions of computers all around the planet at the same time. Anyways, and so all mined cryptocurrencies have a blockchain. This is a website called CoinMarketCap. At the time I took the screenshot, the market cap for Bitcoin was 132 billion. The price was $7,231 a coin. So obviously that was probably, let's see, when was it? Does it say?
17.
It was probably after 17. It was probably like when it hit the bottom, or pretty close to the bottom. It doesn't really say what year, when that
Well,
was.
2020 it hit down to 6,000, didn't it?
So it's, well, Bitcoin right now is at about 29,000.
Yeah.
But anyways, so if you compare, okay, gold or silver can be counterfeit. Gold or silver is not infinitely divisible. There's no authenticity verification. I mean, you can, if you have a gold coin, you have to largely, that's the reason, okay, when I buy gold or silver, I buy it from reputable coin dealers. I went to a coin dealer in Austin, and I went with a friend of mine, and he wanted to buy some silver, and we were talking about counterfeit silver. And the coin dealer says, come over here, look. And he had this display case full of all these coins. And he said, all of these are counterfeit. And he collects them because again, that's part of his experience, and he wants to share it with people. He can't sell counterfeit coins. So that's the responsibility of the coin dealer, is to not sell those. And so if he sold them, he'd be in really big trouble. So that's why I try and stick almost exclusively to silver eagles, okay? Or junk silver, it's called junk silver, which is 1964 and older, dimes, quarters, 50-cent pieces, that kind of stuff. The reason is that if they counterfeit these, you take them to the Secret Service and they hunt them down and put them in jail for 30 years, okay? If they counterfeit a silver bullion, right, from say Northeast Mint or something like that, if that turns out to be scrap iron, your only remedy is to sue them for the damage, right? And so if it's a silver coin, or supposed to be a silver coin, instead of $20, you're going to sue them for the $20. And so that's why I stick almost strictly to silver eagles or junk silver, because if it's counterfeit, I try and get it from coin dealers, because if it's counterfeit, the Secret Service hunts those people down and makes sure they get lots of free room and board for a long time. And so it's a major deterrent. And then plus I try and buy from coin dealers. And so you have to be careful with gold and silver for sure. There's storage. It can be lost or stolen. It's portable, but not necessarily. And you certainly can't pay with gold or silver coin to some guy in Africa or Asia, okay? It's recognized, but not necessarily accepted. In other words, if you went in with 1 ounce of gold to buy a loaf of bread, I'm not sure they're going to be able to make you change. And if you do get change, it's probably not going to be in gold.
Fiat.
It'll be in fiat, that's right. Taxes, maybe, maybe not. It's hard to say. Anonymity, definitely it's anonymous. Federal Reserve notes, they can definitely be counterfeited. Federal Reserve notes are not infinitely divisible. There's no authenticity verification. Storage, they can be lost or stolen. It's portable, yes. And you can do stuff digitally, so that's the nice thing about, that's why people use credit cards. They're recognized everywhere. Taxes, yes. Anonymity, maybe. Some banks require ID for any cash deposits. Transactions over certain limits precipitate reporting requirements. So all of that is Federal Reserve notes. Cryptocurrencies, they cannot be counterfeited. They're infinitely divisible. We'll go through that here in a minute, where you can, like a Bitcoin, one Satoshi is 0.1 and it's 8 digits, okay? Which means 0.000000001 Bitcoins, which is probably not even a penny at the current price of Bitcoin. Matter of fact, it wouldn't be a penny. It'd be like maybe a hundredth of a penny or something like that at the current price of Bitcoin. So you can buy Bitcoin in those small increments, and people buy them all the time you can buy them on, and if you want it, we could go on a field trip. There's actually a Bitcoin ATM down here. If you go to that Chevron station down here, there's a Bitcoin ATM down there. I bought Bitcoin on that ATM, and so you can go down there and buy some on that ATM if you want.
It's at Brown Trail in Harwood. It's
Right.
the southwest corner.
Yeah,
And there's one at Kinder Coffee in North Richland Hills.
they're actually all over the place, but it's actually quite useful here. They are all over the place, but sometimes, like I've seen people at this one here that drove from Arlington, which is quite a ways. So it's nice to have one nearby. Anyways, is infinitely divisible. They can actually go to smaller increments, but there's not much use in doing that until the price gets up higher. Authenticity verification is completed when you use it. They cannot be stolen from a wallet, but you can lose them, okay? And remember, the blockchain is an address, is a public address, and an amount. Now, what happens is these transactions, every time any transaction is done with Bitcoin, then it just adds an entry into the blockchain. And so that blockchain file is getting to be pretty big. And it can be really slow sometimes, and especially it depends on how much you have to pay a fee. Every time, and with anything, there's always a fee. With a credit card transaction, there's always a fee with any kind of transaction. And that's the advantage of some of these cryptos like Litecoin. Litecoin has a very small fee. And Bitcoin, the fees can get kind of big. And especially if you want the transaction to go through relatively fast, then it can get even bigger. And like for example, I've got I got a wallet on this phone, and it has, you know, I don't know, I think it's 13,000 Satoshis in it, which is like about 50 cents. And if I wanted to send it somewhere, it'd cost me like 20 bucks. So I can't send it anywhere because it's worth, the fee would cost me more. And so, but as that was 13,000 Satoshis, and it was like 50 cents when Bitcoin, remember, it showed $7,000 for the Bitcoin. Well, now Bitcoin is at $30,000, right? So now that 50 cents is, you know, maybe $5. And so, but it's still not worth it. But at some point, it'll be worth it to send it somewhere, and I'll probably do that.
So is the fee dependent on the amount sent or just a flat per transaction?
It's on the amount, it's on the transaction, it's just a transaction fee. And so,
And it varies, because sometimes I do Litecoin, it's a different fee.
yeah, it depends on the crypto. It depends on the crypto.
$100,000 or $2, it's still the same fee?
This particular wallet,
It changes.
Okay.
And you can also go normal transaction, you can do expedite, you can pay a higher rate to get
right,
it faster.
yeah, and some wallets, you can convert it in the wallet and into another crypto. And so, like there's a wallet called Coinomi that you can have on your phone, and you can convert it in the wallet into another crypto, and they actually, the wallet can have, you know, 100 different cryptos. And so there's a lot of things you can do, okay? But so it's kind of, what you have to do is just kind of get in there. The important thing is the blockchain, okay? It's a public address and an amount, and the private key is something that you have. Do not lose your private key. When you set up the wallet, they give you, it could be a seed phrase, or it could be just a private key. You got to write that down and put it somewhere that it's going to be safe. Because if you lose it, your cryptos are gone, and you'll never find them again.
What do you mean by key, like a passcode?
Yeah, yeah, but it'll be like about 50 digits, and it'll be all sorts of characters, and yes.
That happened to me. I bought Bitcoin when it was $2.
Oh, no, and you forgot your private.
Well, I lost my husband, and we moved, and lost it. So we had Bitcoin, like from clear back, and people would call us crazy, and then he lost it, and he could kick himself. I mean, I get mad just thinking about it, but like, he kicks himself now, because it's his fault.
You had 2 Bitcoins?
Mm-hmm.
You actually had owned 2 Bitcoins?
No, I had 10. We bought at $2 when they were $2. Actual whole Bitcoin, and he lost them.
Oh.
So
So
right
I was
now,
saying it happened. And
right
it
now
was
that's
horrible.
$300,000.
Absolutely. Yeah, we would have had a lot of money. But we
And it's probably going to be,
It's okay.
if Bitcoin does what Cliff High says it will do, it'll be at $100,000 this year,
Yeah.
which means it'll be $1 million that you basically flush down the toilet.
Yep.
So you can't overemphasize that. You
I can't.
cannot
No, you have to
forget.
just like let it go.
Just like that, she lost it.
Yeah.
You gotta have that stuff in a, I put it in a safe deposit box, and I put it in a safe. You gotta have it in several places.
What I do, quite frankly, one thing that you can do is you can email yourself.
Well, that's a good idea.
And so then you have it at the sent email and at the receiving email, and you just put it in a folder. And so, first of all, you know, somebody would have to hack your email, and they'd have to know that it's there. I mean, that's getting to be a bit of a stretch.
But this happened like several years ago when it wasn't popular. Like
Right.
we got on it when it wasn't popular, and everybody's like, "You're crazy, that's
Right.
stupid." You know what I mean? So
I do that with drafts and email. If I want to remember something, I'll put it in the draft and I'll just close the window and it saves it in the draft folder.
Back then, by the way, when
You
you
could do
bought
that.
that, how did you buy it?
We had just an old computer and my friend would have access to have it. He was trying to teach people how to buy it, and that was back when everybody's like, you guys are nuts. And he's like, I don't care if people think I'm nuts or not. I think this is the
Yeah,
future.
I read about it. There was one guy that was kind of like a clearinghouse that
Mhm.
he would do everything from his house,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
apartment.
Yeah.
And so it took days sometimes to get your transaction completed.
Oh yeah, like
Yeah.
it took like several times that we had to do it, and then he did the same sort of thing, but he lost some of his, but he kept some of his, but his is really high now. Like he's got several
There's-
actual Bitcoin.
There's Bitcoin billionaires. There's a channel called, a YouTube channel called Crypto Viewing. And he's a guy in Hawaii. He's an old guy. He used to be a news broadcaster. He's retired now. He went and he had one episode where this girl from Germany, he's got a YouTube channel, so she went and looked him up in Hawaii, came to Hawaii, looked him up, and just wanted to say hi, meet him and all that. She's a young girl. She was staking. Okay, and staking is a way of, I was showing Darren about staking. I have some cryptos that I'm staking. I'm getting, I get a buck or something like that every 3 days. And she is making enough money from the staking that she quit work. And she's traveling. She's paying for her flights. She flew from Germany to Hawaii. She said that she knew people in Germany in their 20s that were crypto millionaires, and they like to go camping. Anyways, and so there's major opportunities in it for sure. Even now, if you look at what happened in the 90s, there's major opportunities, and because we're going to go through the same thing, there's going to be major opportunities. So let's keep going.
It looks like right now is the same situation we were in before it popped last year about the same time. It took off in August. Remember how it was
Yeah.
kind of low?
Well, they always, the
Yeah.
media always comes out and says, oh, it's dipping,
Yeah.
so they can come buy it
That's
up.
the time to
Yeah.
buy.
Yeah.
It-
Buy low,
it
sell high.
starts
Buy low.
going back up.
So I think this is maybe one of the best times to buy cryptos.
Well, we're going to
Anyways,
talk about,
God's coin took a big hit also.
we're going to talk about an opportunity here in about 30 minutes.
Anyways, let's keep going here. So they cannot be stolen from a wallet, but it can be lost. They're definitely portable. Their recognition is growing. There's no taxes. And they can't tax it because you have to give it in the tax. If you don't want to give it to them, it's not like a bank account where they seize your bank account. It ain't happening. And so it's completely anonymous, although there's some that are more anonymous than others, okay? You have to understand that they can tell, a computer nerd can tell an IP address. Like when you go and do a crypto transaction that gets recorded in the blockchain, well, they can find an IP address where that was transmitted from.
If you're
And
using a
so-
VPN, can they still do that? If you're using a VPN?
Well, no, because the IP address will be wherever the VPN is, right?
I use a VPN for
And
it.
so, yeah, you're covered there. But so I've heard of, there was people that I heard about, and like there was a lady in Los Angeles that was charged with money laundering, and I can't remember what exactly she did, but they tracked her down with an IP address. So it's, if you're a little bit careful, you should be okay then. But there's also other cryptos, like there's one called Monero and there's one called Cloak, that are completely anonymous. And so, again, it depends on to what extent you want to go to. Anyways, so let's keep going. Don't forget to subscribe to this YouTube channel. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter. Don't forget to follow me on Steam at Sovereignty International. Don't forget to like this video. On YouTube, don't forget to click the bell next to the subscribe button so you're notified when there's a new upload. And on Steam, don't forget to vote and make your comments. That's the front page of my channel. The bell, the subscribe button's clicked because it's not red, and the arrow is pointing at the bell. So anyways, this is Etherscan. This is where Ethereum all of the transactions on Ethereum are recorded on this website. So you can actually look up any Ethereum transaction on this website, and you can pull it up and find out where it came from, where it went to. You can get a little bit of information.
What is that website?
It's called Etherscan.
Huh?
Etherscan. Etherscan.
Oh, Ether, okay.
So what if, so you know who the buyer and seller was by name or just?
No, not by name.
No, you don't know anybody
Just
by
the
name.
amount of what they bought?
The only thing you know is maybe their IP address. That's it.
But that will help.
That's
Let's
all
say
you
you
need
did a
to know.
transaction, you're worried about it getting to you, you can look and see the status.
See, these computers,
Okay, see who paid them that already?
well,
See if it's
and-
coming to you, because if you're off one digit, you don't
I
get it.
know someone's
Okay.
name.
Yeah.
so anyways, always be careful, caveat emptor, buyer beware, do your own research. Is it mine? That's my number one criteria. I stay away from the bankster coins. Is it a debt to someone? Bankster paper currency is always a debt to somebody. Bankster cryptocurrencies, Ripple has an infinite supply, it's created only by them. And I would highly encourage you to watch Cliff High's videos. He's got a channel on BitChute. We're going to watch one of his interviews, or part of one of his interviews with Greg Hunter. He's brilliant. He's a computer nerd. He actually, he was one of the guys in the 90s that Microsoft would fly all over the world and put out their fires for him. So he writes computer code programs. He's brilliant, and he's the guy that I learned about it from. Anyways, this is Bitcoin. If you look at this chart, right here is 2009, that's when Bitcoin was created. And this is the creation, how Bitcoins are going to be created. Right now we're at 2021, which is about here. So most of the Bitcoins that have been created have already been created. And it'll end at 21 million Bitcoins in 2040. And so at the beginning of the Bitcoin, the creator chose 50 Bitcoin to come into existence every 15 minutes. So 2,625,000 Bitcoins were created the first year. Every 4 years, the number of Bitcoins that are mined are cut in half. So in 2012, the number of Bitcoins mined were cut in half to 25 every 15 minutes. So you basically have miners, okay? I've done mining. And you have a computer that is performing mathematical calculations, and there's a bunch of computers on the line that are mining, and there's only so many coins that are awarded, and so they all have a complete set of the blockchain, and they're all talking to each other all the time, and so then they get awarded. These 25 coins in 2012 are awarded every 15 minutes. And so they have also got mining pools. So you can actually pool your hashes with other computers, and it increases your chances of getting a coin, but then you have to share it with the other people in the pool. And so there's a bunch of things going on. There's really is a bunch of things. Anyway, so in 2012, the number of Bitcoins mined were cut in half to 25 every 15 minutes. In 2016, the number was cut in half to 12 and a half every 15 minutes. And in 2020, the number was cut in half to 6.25 every 15 minutes. Now, and in 2140, 21 million Bitcoins will have been created, and no more Bitcoins will ever be created. So again, this is the chart that we looked at here a minute ago. Cryptocurrency mining uses process time to crunch numbers. You can buy mining computers, mining cards for desktop computers. The best mining computers are also good gaming computers with powerful video cards. The mining costs power. Countries with lower power rates have a lot of miners, like Venezuela. If you've been listening to the news, China's been running out their miners, and a lot of them have been coming here to Texas and the US. There's YouTube videos that go into it into detail, okay? If you want to learn about it, go on YouTube. There's all sorts of YouTube videos that'll tell you all the different ins and outs of everything on how to do it, how to set up your mining rig, everything. That's where I go. If I want to learn how to do something, I'll go on YouTube and start researching it.
The key to that is having low-cost electricity available.
That's right.
Either through solar or some other power source.
Right. Yeah, if you have solar, then you got free electricity basically, and so then it's very cost effective. But if you're having to pay, like we were heating his back room back there in the wintertime, it was great. In the summertime,
Yeah, it got really high bill. It got
yeah,
really
because
high.
they use a lot, they get
But
hot.
winter was great, it just kind of cooled or warmed the house up. It was pretty good.
Anyways, what happens is that when the halving happens, now I'm not sure exactly when the halving happened in this chart, but it's always within about 18 months, and the price will go up like that, okay? Now the halving happened, remember it happened last May, a year ago last May. So this Christmas time is going to be the perfect time for that peak to happen, but then always it goes down. And so you can plan on that. If you plan on it and take advantage of it, you can make out like a bandit. I know people that the last halving, they made so much money that they lived for free for 2 or 3 years after that. They paid rent, they have money for everything, and
that's what you want. You want to go in cycle. That's where you make your money. Buy when it's low, sell high. If it was always the same, you wouldn't make as much money.
so anyways, so you got to be aware of that. This was in 2012. It went up to $260. Remember down here, it started at under $20, so it went up about 10 times. This is in 2016. Same thing happened. It's hard to say where it started at here, but it went up to, that was 2017. That's the last peak.
Yeah, I believe it was, did it go, was it just over?
It was 21,000.
21, yeah.
It was
But
right around.
and it started to hit in about, remember we were talking about Cliff 5 says it's going to be 10,000 on a date, and we go, sure enough, it happened that day. Remember that? We were saying Cliff High got it.
Cliff Highs, he's pretty good. Anyways, so this is what happened in 2016. So it halved in 2016, but yet it was December of 2017 before it peaked. So it's about 18 months after the halving when it peaks, and then it comes down, and you can if you plan for that, you can make out like a bandit, because you remember, what do? You sell high and you buy low, right? Buy low, sell high. So when it's up there, and there's dollar cryptocurrencies. There's Coinbase has some dollar. There's a U.S. dollar coin that's an Ethereum-based token. So you just convert it over to the dollar-based currency at the time, and you can't you know, people get they get hyped up, they get caught up in the frenzy. So when it's going crazy, you think it's going to keep going forever. What you have to do is just look at the charts and say, well, it looks like it's going to turn around. I'm going to just walk away from it right now, take profit, and I'll convert it into, and then it might go up beyond. But you can't let yourself get caught up in it, because that's the people that do that. They ride it all the way up, and then they ride it all the way down.
You convert it to US dollars? What are you converting it to?
A dollar coin. There's dollar coins, yeah.
That's not a Bitcoin, it's some other thing.
No, it's a different kind of coin.
But why don't you talk about the exchanges where they can actually lie?
We're gonna get there.
Okay.
Anyways, so you can't let yourself get caught up in it. So it's called blockchain technology. There's a core software, so there's Bitcoin Core, there's Litecoin Core. Those are the software you need if you're going to mine, okay? And that's the software that has all of the transactions in it. There's a file that you know, the files get to be huge, and because what happens is every time there's a transaction, it gets added in. That's the blockchain. The Bitcoin Core contains every transaction that's ever taken place encoded into the blockchain. There's millions of computers around the world that have Bitcoin Core running on them. It's impossible to counterfeit a mined cryptocurrency. In the 1800s, the Carrington event. Have anybody heard of the Carrington event?
No, but I don't understand this all.
That was in the 1800s. In the 1870s, I tend to think, you know, some people say that our planet is alive. The scriptures tell us it's alive. It says it complained about the wickedness on its face. And some people say that maybe even the sun is alive. And I think that maybe the sun senses, remember 1870s, that's Civil War era. You know, there was a lot of bad things that were happening. And I think maybe, so there was a Carrington event. There was a solar flare that hit the earth and it set telegraph stations on fire. Well, think about that for a minute. Think about that. So you have a solar flare with such energy, right, that it came down and this energy hit the only thing that would conduct electricity at the time, which was telegraph wires. And it was sparking off of these telegraph wires with such ferocity that it set anything nearby on fire, as in telegraph stations. I mean, you're talking, I mean, if that happened today, I mean, half the planet would be, the power grid would be down, you know? And, but, even with cryptocurrencies, okay, they're still the other side of the planet. And all of those miners are still going to be operating. You see what I'm saying? And so, yeah, if we're facing the sun at the time, then, yeah, the power grid would be history, and it'd probably take years to get it back up. But meanwhile, all of the miners on the other side of the planet are going to be running just fine. And so it'd be a huge, huge. People say that what happens if the power grid goes down? Well, so it goes down. No biggie. You know, if it got put down to where Bitcoin, where the power grid over the whole planet was taken out, well, then we're back in the Stone Age anyways.
Right. I mean, nobody's going to care about us then. They're going to be looking for food and ammunition.
It's Stone Age. We're back in the Stone Age. And so, and it ain't going to happen, and nothing's going to change for probably hundreds of years. It's going to take hundreds or maybe thousands of years to get back out of it. And
But
so,
in theory, if there was a solar flare, it would affect just part of the Earth. Other parts of the Earth would be okay.
right, exactly.
The dark side would be okay.
The dark side's going to be fine. So this is actually a mining wallet that I had. I was mining at the time digibytes. And I had some 16 digibytes. And there was some of them here that were unconfirmed. And 109 flow, FLO. So this is one wallet that I was mining. I mined. Because the blockchain, it's impossible to find out, it is possible to find out information. In other words, how much Bitcoin was sent to a given Bitcoin address. Because of private concerns, other cryptocurrencies like Monero or Cloak have been created. There's cryptocurrency exchanges. There's Poloniex in Delaware. It's owned by the banksters. Cryptology in New Zealand went bankrupt. Coinbase in San Francisco. There's many more. And they can be hacked, and Bitcoins have been stolen. Now, you got to understand, and that's why I don't keep anything at an exchange, okay? When I buy cryptos on Coinbase, if you buy cryptos at this ATM down here, they'll charge you about 6%. About 6% is usually, and that's actually very reasonable. Some ATMs charge 10% or even more. And so, if you buy it on Coinbase, it'll probably cost you about 0.5%. But Coinbase makes you keep it on their exchange for a week, and before you can send it somewhere.
And they have your information too.
And you gotta, yeah, that's right. They want to have government issued ID and all sorts of stuff. So yes,
But with a VPN, that'll protect you. Like
it doesn't matter.
They'll still-
Coinbase still
They have to fill out information to get it.
Coinbase will
yeah,
still
yeah.
want that information to before they let you have access. And so, but you got to understand that these exchanges are run by the banksters, and so what they do, quite frankly, is they leverage it. Okay, they're spending cryptos that they don't have, And that's why they go bankrupt, okay, in my opinion. Cryptology in New Zealand went bankrupt.
Yeah, and I had some on that exchange because I need some on there just so I could do, you know,
I
transfer
told
money.
you guys to get it
I know.
off of there.
But it did happen. It crashed and they took some of my crypto.
So it's caught up in the bankruptcy is what happens.
So are they trying, like right now, Bankster is trying to figure out basically the crypto system so they can like try to take over? Is that basically?
I don't know. They said hackers got the cryptos
Oh,
on
okay.
that one,
In
but
New Zealand?
Well, they always
it could
say
be
that.
inside job. What
They
they do is
always-
say they can't tell you the truth. If the
Right.
owners decide to just take the money.
Yeah.
They always say that. And usually they don't just take the money, but they spend it. You know, they have expenses, they gotta pay bills, and they spend it. And that's usually what happens. And then what happens is they can usually cover themselves, but what happens is somebody decides they wanna take more money out than what's available, and, you know, it forces them into bankruptcy.
It's quite a bit like fractional banking because they're using your cryptos
Yeah,
and they gotta have enough and balance it out.
they're
Just like a bank.
fractionalizing
Yeah.
it, for sure.
It's very dangerous, the exchanges.
Anyways,
So why would you put it in exchange?
Because you can make money
Well-
as it can immediately transfer. Like if Litecoin's going up, Bitcoin's going down, you can make some money doing that.
I only put it in Coinbase because it's cheap to buy cryptos there. It only costs about 0.5% to buy cryptos. So I can buy cryptos on Coinbase for about 0.5%, and
You gotta leave it in exchange.
and then I have to leave it there for a week, and then I immediately at the first opportunity transfer it up and put it in a private wallet somewhere. Anybody that leaves it there is asking for trouble.
But you could lose it in that week from bankruptcy or whatever.
Good, yeah, certainly could. So,
But on those exchanges, when I was doing it, you talking about fast transactions.
Yeah.
Somebody's gonna wanna sell 5, for example, digibytes. You gotta make a decision right then to get it because somebody else is wanting to buy it too. You're buying and selling off the exchange. But you can make a lot of money if you're quick at it as the market changes.
there's anonymous exchanges, like Ethereum. There's anonymous Ethereum exchanges. You just go there, you send your Ethereum, and you can exchange it for some Ethereum token, and then send it out. So some exchanges are anonymous. There's also, we'll talk about that. We're going to get to that. Anyways, bank accounts can be hacked, and if banks go bankrupt, you lose the money. That's not FDIC insured. And so you can, if they go bankrupt, that's why I don't keep it on there anymore, and I have to.
Well, and if all of the banks, if the economy craters and you have a run on the banks, the FDIC does not have enough reserve.
No, they don't.
They
That's
have
right.
like 2% reserve.
That's right.
in all that they have are
That's right.
guaranteeing, so.
That's right.
It's toast.
There was people I met, remember when the S&L crisis happened in the 80s, in
Absolutely.
the 90s?
Absolutely.
There was people I met that had money in that, and they waited months to get their money. I don't know that they ever did.
Some of them don't.
And so, yeah, so just because it's FDIC insured doesn't mean
That's
anything.
guaranteed, that's right.
That's-
That's full faith and pledge of the federal government, which is broke.
Yeah, exactly. Anyways, there's some decentralized exchanges. There's one called Shapeshift, and there's one called Changely, and there's other ones. Some of the wallets that you'll find on your phone, Coinomi, Jax, Exodus, there's a lot of wallets that are available. I like using Coinomi. Coinomi is probably my favorite. I also like Exodus. I like using Exodus too. And so those are the ones that I use, but I do have a Jax wallet. Matter of fact, the one that's on here I think is a Jax wallet. Jax is, they don't have a lot of coin options on it, and so, you know, you can't exchange it inside the wallet for another coin.
But it's good to have multiple wallets so that way you don't have everything in one wallet.
Yeah,
All your
yeah,
eggs in one basket.
absolutely.
Right, that's the old
Yeah, you
saying.
spread it around, and that way, it's like anything, you never keep all your eggs in one basket, right? You spread it around. And so, cold storage, oh, I forgot to bring it, oh, no, I didn't, actually. Cold storage, Darren has This is my backup phone. This phone is actually on AT&T, and I actually have a SIM card in it, but I don't need it. Okay, I use it as a backup phone because I don't want to give out my phone number. I don't want people calling me. I don't even have voicemail set up on my phone. And so this is my phone. I give out this phone number, and I put it in this wallet right here that shields it. So it can't even get signal when it's in this wallet. It's basically a boat anchor. This wallet, this phone has a coin-only wallet in it, and you can have it. It doesn't have to be activated. Darren has hundreds of phones that you can get access to if you want. Or you can pay, what's a treasure wallet? These are treasures, those are like about $150. But they do the same thing. Or you can buy a phone from Darren, and all you do is it just has to access Wi-Fi. Okay, you go to McDonald's, you download the app, you get your crypto sent there, because really, if you understand how Bitcoin works, okay, I could drop this phone in a bucket of water, and it wouldn't mean a hill of beans, okay, because the cryptos are not actually in this phone. They're not actually in this wallet. They're in the blockchain. The wallet, all it does is it reads the blockchain and comes up with the total and says, okay, this is how much cryptos you got. It's
like,
in the blockchain.
It's like having your money in a bank versus having it in your checkbook. Your checkbook is like that phone right there, and it doesn't matter what happens to your checkbook, your money is still in the bank.
Yeah, that's right. And so I like using this, and I have phones that I use that are basically, they're not activated, but if I want to, I put a wallet on them, and I can have cryptos in them, and I can take them with me, and I keep them in this thing, so it can't even receive signal when it's in this thing. And I got some of these available back there if you want one. I sell these for $15 a piece, but they're shielded wallets, pouches that will shield anything. There's no signal goes inside. Somebody can call this number. This phone isn't even turned on right now, I don't think. No, it's not even turned on. And so somebody could call it if it was turned on, and if it was in here, it wouldn't ring because it wouldn't be
It
getting.
is probably best after you put a SIM card in the one that you have, your
Yeah.
wallets. Just
Yeah.
don't put a SIM card in.
Yeah, you could do that. And all you do is you just use it with Wi-Fi. People do that all the time. And he's got hundreds of phones that'll cost you a lot less than one of these treasure wallets will. But anyways,
Have y'all heard about the Freedom Phone?
Yeah, does anybody have any thoughts on that or
The
knowledge?
Freedom
Yeah.
Phone
The
for
Freedom Phone?
500.
Yeah.
Yeah, $500, $499.
No, $500 for.
Okay, so there's a guy.
Well, it's an Android base, but yeah.
Yeah, it's an Android base.
Oh, yeah.
This guy found it's out of China too. What these are?
Hong Kong.
Hong Kong. Okay, but they said he found basically a company with what's it called? You know what I'm talking about.
Basically, it's an Android system that and it runs just like any other phone, but it's not. But it's like having an unbranded phone.
Yeah.
In other words, Google. In other words, it's not controlled by Google or Verizon or anything like that. And you know, I mean, I'm sure they can trace it somehow, and if nothing else by
It has no
triangulation.
specs on it though,
Yeah.
so I know a lot of my friends are wondering. They just want to see if people have used it.
I ordered one.
because there's no specs on it. So
Yeah,
they
I
don't
Yeah,
know.
when you get it, let's take a look at it.
Yeah.
Do you bring it by and get it?
Yeah, they're not shipping until August, so it'll be sometime in August. I mean, I'm sure there's a backlog on them right now.
there's that guy on YouTube, Rob
I've
Braxis,
seen that,
that
yeah.
sells de-Googled phones.
Right.
Yeah.
And so he basically removes all the Google stuff off it. And so they're regular phones like a Motorola phone, but he takes Google off it. And so then there's no tracking or anything like that.
Right, and that's basically what this guy has done. If you want more information on it, if you go to Candace, Candace.com, I guess, what it is, you know, Candace Owens. She did a pitch on it, and, but, you know, I mean, if you look at her, you know, website, you know, there'll be, you know, you can get the information. for
Big
that.
tech is freaking out about it.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at a deal that just came up on my phone. It says the EU wants to ban anonymous crypto wallets by 2024. Now, the concept is, or the government says, that the main reason they want to not have cryptocurrency is because it's secret, you cannot trace it, etc. Therefore, there's illegitimate use of the money for gun running or sex trafficking or
Yeah,
whatever,
whatever.
which is mostly a crock.
Well, they're the ones that are doing it.
Yeah, they're
That's
the ones
right,
that are
that's
doing it,
mostly a
exactly,
crock,
yeah.
but that's what they're
They
saying.
reverse engineer a reason for control.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Yeah, but
I thought that's interesting, it just came up.
But how do they control that? There's no way they can control that. There's nothing stopping me from buying from you
That's right.
and giving you my QR code and sending you some cryptos, and they'll never be the wiser.
Well, you'll see all kinds of attack on crypto because it's really, other than gold and silver, it's the only other actual currency that's out there, you know, and, you know, because to me, gold and silver are not a currency because they don't flow. It's an asset, you know, and you can liquidate it or you cannot, but currency is something that flows, you know, and it's the only other currency out there, and so it's going to be under attack
Right, it's the fastest
until
transaction.
the fiat explodes. You know, I mean, basically, until all those guys are rooted out, they will be attacking it until every single
Right.
one of them are rooted
And
out.
eventually the Federal Reserve is going under. It's
Oh,
just a matter of
absolutely,
time.
absolutely, absolutely.
So anyways, let's
I
keep
don't know how
moving
this
here.
works, probably Darren does on his old phone. One thing that makes me nervous on old phones is, you know, it doesn't matter how old the phone is, if it's got a battery and it will power up, it's federally mandated, it must be able to call 911. You don't have to pay for a network or anything, but it'll go through the network for 911. And if
Right.
it'll do that, what's it do in the other direction?
Right,
It's a little unnerving to think that they've got channels.
right.
Anyways,
If you're checking on your crypto real quick, you know, you might get the information you need, but I don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, well, that's why you want to have multiple wallets and you want to use a VPN when you get online with it.
anyways, let's keep moving here. So the old cell phone doesn't have to be activated. You can use the Wi-Fi capability, install the Coinomi app or the Jax app or the Exodus app and whatever app you want to use. Cryptocurrencies are kept in the blockchain. As long as you have the private key, you'll be able to get access to your cryptocurrency from anywhere on the planet. And I have actually done this. I've flown all over the world. I've been across the pond dozens of times. I've been over to Europe. I've never had any trouble, but I haven't flown recently, and I'm not interested in getting groped. So I'm not interested in flying. But I've been all over the planet. I've never had any trouble. And all you do is you go over there and you could email, send yourself an email, and then you could access your wallet over there. I mean, it's easy enough to do. Litecoin is scheduled to create 84 million coins and gets halved every 4 years. Clip High said that his data set showed that Litecoin is going to be 1/4 the price of Bitcoin. If you look at Litecoin right now, Litecoin is at 108.20 and Bitcoin is at 29,698. So if a Litecoin got to be 1/4 the price of Bitcoin, it should be about $7,500. And so it's got some pretty good upside. Okay, that's my point. Okay, there's a bunch of them that have some really good upside. Veritasium is another one. That's the reason I have Veritasium. Clip High said that his data set showed Veritasium being worth more than Bitcoin. And so
And right now it's about what, is it $3 right now, or
no,
$3?
it's less than that.
$3 maybe.
No, it's more than $3. I bought a bunch of it when it was $3. Right now it's $14. Veritasium's at $14. It's really thinly traded. So if you start buying a bunch of it, the price will go up. Anyways, Amazon is looking at accepting Litecoin. Litecoin's very fast. Litecoin uses the Lightning Network, and Litecoin is very reasonable. This is about my subscription channels. I have exclusive content available on my website and on Patreon. My website has 2 subscription levels, and I accept cryptocurrencies. $29.99 a year for the videos only. $49.99 a year for the videos plus unlimited email consultations. But I'm not a liar. Well, I'm an attorney. No, I'm not a liar. But I can tell you what I would do and where to find the forms. The only power that these New World Order Satanists have over us is through fraud and deception, and my agenda is to expose it for all our benefit, but I cannot fight all the battles. Some of my content is Arlington Private Information Share, Land Deed Training, Estoppel Certificates Training, Foreclosure Estoppel Certificates Training, Corporate Denial Training, Toll Roads Notice of Demand Training, Invoice Training, Notice of Void Judgment Training, Revocation of Signatures Training, Third-Party Witness Training, Federal Habeas Corpus Training, Revocation of Voter Registration, Criminal Complaint Training. There's about 3 videos on that. Lawsuit Training, there's 1. There's going to be more other training depending on if it's something I can do. The Northeast Private Information Share videos. All forms, files, and other instructions are available for my 2 private groups on Google Groups and Freelist. Actually, this one's freelist.org.
Okay, Glenn,
When he gets to this slide.
yeah, when you get to a breaking point, Frank wants to talk.
Yeah, no problem. All exclusive content's available on my website. You can buy a subscription there. I've only got about 20 slides left, so whichever way you want to do it. If you want to talk, go ahead.
How is this thing set up? You can't,
It's live right now.
what I was looking at, I'd like to get a copy of.
The presentation?
Cut and paste, yeah.
Okay.
Glenn's given me the privilege to kind of let y'all in on something that's been going on for about 5 years. And I want to change the term a little bit. Instead of cryptocurrency, let's use the term digital currency. If I slip up and say crypto, I'm meaning digital. Anybody have a credit card or a debit card or any kind of card that you use? Or do you ever write a check? That's digital money. There's no real, and fiat money, of course, is the paper and the phony coins that we have, that we walk around with, because they've lost their value to the point that a copper penny, it doesn't have much copper in it anymore. A nickel doesn't have nickel in it anymore. A dime doesn't have hardly any silver in it anymore, or a quarter, half dollar, a dollar. That's because of the fiat currency. Whenever they eliminated the standard of being able to redeem for gold or silver. When that was eliminated in 1933 and then through Nixon in 73 or whatever it was, went off the gold standard, that's when inflation just took off. We call it inflation. It's really not inflation, it's deflation of the value of the digital currency, of the fiat currency. Fiat currency is basically what a government issues without any backing. They say that there's reserve gold at Fort Knox, but you can't go get any of it, or you can't turn a dollar bill into the bank and get gold for it. You just can't do that anymore. 5 years ago, we started on a project that is, I want to say, spiritual based, if you want to call it that. That's what I like to call it, because for 46 years I've been a student of Bible prophecy, and I believe we're in the end time. The scripture says that in the end time there will be an individual that the scripture refers to as the man of sin. We refer to him as the Antichrist. Well, the spirit of Antichrist has been around since Jesus was here, maybe even before. And there are people that are in that space that know they're in that space, and there are people that don't know. Most people don't know what space they're in. There are strong Christians, There are people who are just nominal and they're just trying to live life. And then there are those people that are demonic, that are trying to destroy everything that is righteous and godly. That is what's happened to our world, basically. Nearly every governmental authority in the world is like the mafia, and they control it. They control the monetary systems, they control most of the major corporations, the banks. They also control big pharma in the United States specifically. It is a mafia group of people, or a mafia-like group of people is what big pharma is. They then in turn control the Democratic Party, the major media sources. So we're getting just blasted by the enemy, if you will, the Luciferian interest all the time. That's what our world really is. That's what's going on. We're getting misinformation about what is right almost all the time, and we virtually live there and think that's normal. Well, it's not normal. This is a silver coin that is real legal tender. It happens to be for the Republic of Texas, which I have an interest in being involved in, and all of you should be as well. But what we did 5 years ago was went on a journey about digital currency. We now have minted and walleted a digital currency under Jabez Trust, which is a trust that I manage that was formed back in 2002. You want to pull up the website? If you have your phone, why don't you put this in and then you refer back to it.
What's the website?
JABEZ Trust.com. That was formed back in 2002. That's 19 years ago, right? It has a specific purpose, and the purpose is to help fund worthwhile organizations that are doing good work around the world, primarily Christian-based, beginning with education, ministry, which would be evangelism, goods and needs ministry, helping people live their life in a better way and have the opportunity to tag into eternal life, which is what we should all be interested in. That's the purpose of Jabez Trust. If you want to go to the, well, we won't go there, go to currency. In developing this currency, there were three major things that were of interest: liquidity, security, and value increase. Let's look at the security side. J-Trust coin has value based on redemption in silver, in real money. Value based on real estate, righteous principles, and governed by wise counsel. We can go over a lot of that. I won't cover that right now. Liquidity is really important. If you've got money, you want to be able to spend it. You want to be able to do something with it. You want to be able to invest it. You want to be able to exchange with other people for goods and services. All right, let's look at the liquidity side. 3 major points of liquidity. You can download a certain amount of the coin that you own into a debit card, such as Visa, that you can spend anywhere very easily without any problem. Because they're not going to take the legal tender. So you have to figure out a way to use that legal tender in an easy manner. Then the J-Trust coin, which is JTC, will be traded on established exchange platforms. That means that if you want to buy fiat currency with it or exchange it for fiat currency, you just do that. And those exchanges allow you to do that, and Glenn has told us about that. And you can also, at the same time, exchange for other fiat currencies if you choose to do so. Now, the third thing is you can redeem it for silver. At the price of silver, at the time you choose to redeem, you'll get a credit or whatever for the price of silver at the time you choose to redeem in whatever fiat currency you choose. You don't get a physical bar of silver, but you get the equivalent of the value of the silver at the time you choose to exchange in fiat currency. Those are three ways that you can monetize, as we'll say, monetize your investment or your bank account. Because when you have a wallet in a cryptocurrency, that's like a bank account. That's what that wallet is, it's your bank account in that cryptocurrency. Okay? Then when you want to monetize that, in your bank account, you either have a debit card that you can use, you have a check you can use, or you can go get cash and use that cash, right? Same thing here. We established this 5 years ago without knowing what all was going to come about. Now, all of this is possible because of other people that have developed means and ways to do this. Where did this concept and idea come from? Now, applications. What? 2 ways of increasing in value. Okay, with the funds that we receive with the rollout of the investment, we can talk about that for a day. But the funds that we receive, 20% goes into bullion in a bonded certified account with Bill & Gage, which has a bonded certified warehouse in Dallas. They're one of the largest refiners of gold and silver in the world.
You said William, what's the name?
Dillon,
Dillon.
D-I-L-L-O-N, Gage, G-A-G-E. That's what we call a reserve currency. 20% in reserve. If anybody ever wants to call on that reserve and get their fiat at the amount of whatever the silver is at the time, then that's just made a transfer into that. But we keep that in reserve so that we don't run out of the ability to beat the reserve. We don't think that anyone will ever cash in on that basis because, and I'll tell you 2 other things, that's one way that the value can increase is because the reserve we have will increase. We also purchase options, if you will, so that when silver goes through the roof, which it probably will do before the end of the year, the options we hold also increase in value. So we're covered because we have hard silver and we have options to buy silver that protects you or whoever has this currency in their wallet. The second thing is we are acquiring assets, real estate, mining assets. I'm not talking about Bitcoin mining assets, I'm talking about hard metal mining assets. Also, there's a CKD mineral, it's not really a mineral, but it's a building material that is on property that we've been negotiating on for 2 years to acquire that has over $100 million in value in the ground that can be mined, and the use for it, for building materials, for concrete, etc., is just enormous right here in this area. Those are just 2 things. We have been negotiating on a bank building, 6-story, 100,000 square foot bank building that will go into the trust, that will be part of the offices, if you will, of all the enterprise activities of the trust. We also have oil and gas interest that we're negotiating for. All of this goes into the trust and builds up the value of the trust. A portion of the earnings of all of those assets goes into the causes that we believe are worthwhile. There are 35 of them right now that we have on our website. The trust is managed by 5 trustees and 12 members of what we call our Wisdom Council, and then also advisory members. That's just a quick overview. I want you to go to your phone and click on qualify. Anybody have any questions about this part of it so far? Have I been that clear?
Well, so basically it's a trust, it's not an LLC that's,
No, it's not an LLC, it's a private trust.
okay. And 5 trustees?
5 trustees that govern the trust. I'm the managing trustee.
It's been in business since 2002, 2002. On the CKD building, they have a different way of constructing, is it?
Building materials?
Building materials for
Well,
commercial?
CKD is a material that will harden concrete.
Oh, okay.
And they use fly ash now, but fly ash is becoming very, very hard to get because they're shutting down the coal plants.
Yeah.
So this product actually is increasing in value because of just what's happening in the construction and the coal business.
Okay.
And it's in the ground. Cord determined, have a certified report from the second largest engineering company in the world certifying the value.
Okay.
We haven't acquired it yet, but we're in a negotiation for 2 years with a friend of mine who controls it.
Okay.
And he's wanting to retire.
But you're the managing director.
I'm the managing trustee.
And you know all 5 trustees.
All 5 trustees have not been fully put in place yet.
Okay. All right.
But that's the governing body, because I don't want to be the one totally controlling it. I could make a mistake. All 5 of us could make a mistake. But it's better if you've got people who counteract each other, that have skill sets and knowledge that others don't. Bill Morgan is considering being a trustee. Okay. Those are the kind of people that we're talking about. Yes.
So are you offering this as a banking alternative, or is this strictly an investment in
Well, let's look at that. That's a good question. Good question.
Right.
Anybody else have a question? We'll try and answer that. Okay, did you go to qualify?
Yes.
Go to the website and go to qualify.
I can't get mine up.
Well, you
Yeah.
have to, it's a 2-step process. You put in Jabez Trust.
I can't even get there from the internet.
Digital shekel.
Is that what it is? Okay. I don't know how to operate this, well, maybe I'll do this.
I've got it on my phone if you want to read it from my
The
phone.
mouse is right there on the right.
You got it.
The reason, I want everybody to go there because there's a reason for it. There's a reason for you going there, because you're going to get some currency today, or you're going to get a certificate for a digital coin today if you qualify. We're going to see if you qualify, okay?
Okay.
All right, here it is. This is what it is. To qualify for and receive your free digital shekel to be valued in silver, complete the following. Somebody want to read the first one?
I believe in the Lord Jesus Christ and the furtherance of his kingdom.
Okay, just put your finger on that if you agree with that.
Well, can we do one where it has believe in Yeshua?
You're not qualified.
Can't qualify if you believe in Yeshua?
Yeshua, okay, well, same thing. That's just
Well, no,
a Jewish
it's
term.
different though.
Okay, that's all right. We'll let you in.
Well,
Should we put Yeshua in parentheses or put it
I
first or
think
what?
so.
I think I just put Yeshua because that's the real name.
Yep, well, that's the Hebrew.
but a lot of people don't even know
It didn't
that.
translate.
That's the
Not
Hebrew
every- How
name.
many people know that
That's
there?
the Hebrew name. It is actually Aramaic, and the actual Aramaic pronunciation is Ishwa. And Hebrew was a different. The Aramaic area is a completely different sect or region.
If you have a
where
problem
it
with
was-
that, then don't check it.
Well, it just didn't translate into Jesus.
Yeah,
It's a
that's
false
English.
transliteration.
That's the English translation.
But what's that name mean?
Salvation.
J-A-V-E-Z.
What does Jabez mean? Okay, that's a good question. You can pull it up, so,
I got it
well, you
up
got
now.
it. Okay. If you look on the first page of our website and scroll down, there's a book that was written called The Prayer of Jabez, and it comes from a scripture in 2 Chronicles 4:10. And I'll give it to you. Jabez was an honorable man. He prayed to the God of Israel, bless me indeed, enlarge my territory, may your hand be with me, and keep me from evil that I may not cause pain. And the scripture ends and says, and God granted him his request. So that's where Jabez comes from. The book that was written, The Prayer of Jabez, is a very inspiring book. I would suggest you read it. If you don't, you can click on that and read there are 3 parts to it. You can read the first part just by clicking on this, on the scrolling down. If you click on the book itself, it should open up and allow you to read the first third of the book. We're trying to get permission from the author to give the whole book away digitally.
The meaning of the name Jabez is he grieves, he will cause pain.
That's right. That's because his mother had trouble birthing him. That's how he got his name. The word Jabez means pain. This is kind of been a pain for me. What we're trying to do is relieve people of their pain, if possible. All right. Somebody want to read number 2? The second point here.
I will forward the link to this page to friends of like mine.
Okay.
See about my page.
If you agree with both of those, you just put your finger there and it'll put a check mark. Then you put your name. You can use a username or your real name. It really doesn't matter. But we need a electronic contact point, which is an email or a cell number. And then let's see. Okay. The cell phone is optional. We'd like to have both, but it's optional. And if you have a message or anything you want to include before you send, feel free to do that. Like, can I use the word as Yeshua? Okay. You can put that in there. Say, I believe in Yeshua. That's fine. You know, that is accepted. We're just not interested in marketing this to Muslims. I mean, we can't keep them out. I mean, but this is primarily for the church. And if you look at the first wording on Jabez Trust, it said, furthering his kingdom. That's what it's about. If it's not about that, I'm not in. Okay, now at the very bottom, to complete this, to forward this page, in other words, this gives you the opportunity right here how to forward this to like-minded person. You've agreed to do it by the check mark. So you click right down here at the bottom, hold that down, and it comes up. Let me see if I can do that. This is probably not going to do it that way. This is not a touchscreen computer, so.
The mouse is right there on the right of the computer, I believe. It is a cordless mouse. It's right there beside the computer.
Oh, this? Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens.
If you right-click, you should be able to
Right
copy.
click? Okay. All right. Right click, you said. Okay, if you'll notice at the bottom of the page, we've got the scrolling of the value of silver, value of gold, Bitcoin, and Ethereum. By the way, J-Trust Coin is built on the Ethereum platform. So it has all that scrolling at the bottom. Now, let's see if this will do it. All right. What you need to do is copy the link, and then that goes into your folder or whatever. Then you can go to any place you want to go with your contacts and send them that link. And you may want to put something like, I think this might be something of interest to you, and send it to them. Now, there is a limit to the number of coins that we will be distributing. This is what you call an airdrop, if that term means anything to you. It means it's like dropping leaflets out of an airplane. It's free. It's free to you, no cost. If you're sending this to a friend and they do the same thing, then what we do, we get distribution to like-minded people. Now, some of them are gonna say, well, who is Jabez Trust? What is it all about? They can look at the website, and they can look at it, they can make a decision if they want to do anything or not. It costs you nothing, okay? You will receive a response about this. Right now, you folks are gonna get a full ounce silver certificate, okay? Which is about $25, just a little less now. When we really roll this out, by the way, I'll just say, you're the first people in a presentation that this has been made to, period. And there's reasons for that I won't go into. But this is going to be rolled out to potentially 15 million people in the next 6 weeks.
We were real lucky, very lucky.
I'm not going to say that, but
I don't know, it may be this.
that's just the facts.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons we've been held up for 5 years, or as long as we haven't had the means to roll this out to a large group of evangelical Christians. We just didn't have a way to get it there. A month ago, I came across a gentleman who has 120 million names and contact points with evangelical Christians around the world. I am in negotiation with them of how we're going to roll this out. And it looks like that we're going to be rolling it out to 15 million people. We're expecting a 5% acceptance of what you've just seen. They will receive a quarter value, a quarter ounce, instead of a full ounce, which you're receiving. Out of that, we wind up with 777,000 people that have accepted the free gift. And what does that do? Two things. One, it introduces them to Jabez Trust and its purpose. And number two, it introduces them to digital currency, which Christians need to learn about it, because the world system is going to digital currency. If you don't believe it, just scan the internet. This man of sin, the Antichrist, his monetary system will be controlled by digital currency. I guarantee it. Now I'm going to give you my opinion. The mark of the beast, as we've all heard, 666, is, in my opinion, going to be an invisible tattoo on the back of your hand and on your forehead that has the ability, when you walk near a scanner, if that information goes to a cloud, comes back to whoever's observing you on a screen somewhere, and they'll know everything about you that they want to know. And it's all right there. You won't carry money. You won't even need your cell phone for that system. You just go into the store, pick up the RID chip items in the store. Everything will be FIRD.
Yeah, Elon Musk is rolling that out right
and you
now.
walk out and it's debits your bank account right there. That's the system that's coming. The technology is here. It's rolling out. It'll probably be activated within the next 2 years.
And it may be implemented with the vaccination.
Yeah, and the vaccine is a precursor. That's a precursor to all this stuff, this last year. It's a precursor to this. Yes.
Do you think that, because I'm just wondering, do you think that it's already injected in them? Or
Well,
do you
I
think
think
it's
so.
with the
But
booster?
because see, the Bible is never wrong.
Mhm.
The right hand and the forehead.
Yeah, that's what they
It's
say.
not going to be an invasion into your body.
Okay.
That's a different thing that they're trying to accomplish. They're trying to accomplish depopulation.
Mhm. Okay.
But the ultimate means of exchange in the Antichrist system is that invisible tattoo on the back of your hand that will, when read by a reader, and they're all over the world now.
Which is
and
already
there'll be
in the
more of
credit
them,
card.
then they can know everything about you all the time if they choose to, and record it. Now, what about Lynn mentioned the grid going down. Well, what happened when the grid going down? We've thought through a lot of these things and we've made preparations. We're not fully implemented, of course, because that takes a lot of money. We're looking to raise maybe $150 million on this raise before the year's out. Now, it's going to be used to acquire assets to acquire the bullion, to implement the things that need to be implemented, but eventually you'll be able to use your phone or whatever instruments you have without having to be tied to any, like the Freedom Phone. You can push this up next to someone else's phone, transact business, just putting in your numbers and theirs, and you can buy goods, services, or whatever without going through the world economic system. It's separate and apart. I think that is maybe the long-term purpose. Why am I the one that's doing this? I have no earthly idea. I told the Lord 5 years ago, I'm too old, I'm not smart enough, and I'm not sure we have enough time. But here we are, and I can't get away from it. I'd love to be on a cruise at someplace in the mountains, or doing a lot of things. But I'm here doing this because this is what I'm supposed to do. And let me say, this morning there was a meeting. Nobody's supposed to know this, but I'm going to tell you. Keep it secret. I didn't tell you, okay? You don't know this. There was a meeting of some pretty influential people about a digital currency for the Republic of Texas. And I proposed this a couple months ago, and it's being worked on right now.
Who's doing that?
I'm not going to tell you. You didn't hear it.
It's a secret.
I didn't tell you.
Well,
You don't know this.
I'm a senator.
I know you are. I know you will find out. And I'm not having anything to do with it. It was done without my knowledge.
Is it Mike Blackwell?
But I didn't tell you. Just saying.
That's fine, I'll just.
I heard by the grapevine that you had a meeting.
I like the idea myself.
Well, it's-
But I've tried to get them to even use crypto wallets.
Yeah.
They have had a problem with it. But,
Okay.
anyway.
So where's this money,
Huh?
I'm confused, sorry, but where's this
May I
money
see
that
your,
you're gonna make off
silver
of
coin?
this go to?
Well, look on the website to the, let's see if we can go to about, see if it's there. There's 35 different programs right now that we have given to or intend to, but we got hundreds of requests. We have a form that people fill out to make a request, a statement of faith and purpose, budget, what their needs are, all of that, what their officers are. They send that to us. We look at it, research it, we interview them, and look at their ministry, what they're doing, and we decide as a group if that's something we want to support.
So would we have to be an LLC or
No. Doesn't have to be a
Put it in that
501c3.
list?
It doesn't have to be anything except just, it has to be boots on the ground, doing the work that we believe needs to be done.
And
That's
if
your
you
answer.
get another person to get it, you get a quarter of an ounce of silver.
So,
Okay, if anybody knew, right now we get more, we get
Right
$26.
now, everyone that filled that out and sent it in will receive a certificate for an ounce of silver.
But in the future, it's gonna be a quarter of an
It's-
ounce.
Let me say this, it's a digital currency that, once we are fully funded, will be redeemable in the equivalent of an ounce of silver. Now, when the rollout comes, it will only be a quarter ounce that those people will receive.
Okay.
And that's about $7 today.
That's by signing up. Is that right?
That's just by receiving. That's just by receiving. Once you've signed up, given us the information, we will send you information, just a few things to educate you.
Yeah.
And then we will make an announcement that the J-Trust coin is now available to purchase or investment.
Okay.
It's almost like a club. This leaves us out of the SEC requirements of registration.
It's a ministry.
Yeah, well, but that doesn't leave you out. We're not doing it just as the general public. If you receive this and you give us your information, you're part of the club, if you will. It's not what we call it, but you're sort of a member of Jabez Trust.
It's a private
And
member
as a member,
association.
then we can offer you things for you to purchase if you choose to do so
Yeah.
without requiring registration of the SEC.
Gotcha. It's really a private membership.
That's right.
Okay.
So,
So it's not public.
hmm?
It's not public.
It's not public, it's private. So we thought through this. I mean, we have gone every direction you can go almost to decide what to do, but he's the one directing it. Okay, yes?
And the idea, though, and I know you said this, but I just want to clarify. The idea is that we're invested in this. We put our kind of energy into this, and then when Beast system takes over, we don't have to connect to the Beast system. We have a completely different.
Let me say
system.
this. There's an immediate purpose, and that is to help fund God's kingdom to be funded. Okay, that's the immediate purpose. And to help people grow their estate. I mean, we're not going to have these big ups and downs and bumps, because this is a stable coin. It should never go below the value of the silver. Okay? It won't be doing that. Now, can it increase in value? Yeah, if silver goes up, it should increase in value. If we make good investments, wise investments, and they make money, and if we are blessed, which we expect to be, then the value of the currency should go up, regardless of this. This is just a floor, if you will, of the value.
But it's still kind of a silver-backed.
Yeah, well, we don't use the term back.
Right.
Redeemable.
Okay.
Redeemable in silver. Valued in silver is okay, but not back. That's a different ball game altogether. That throws us into we become a currency. We become something that the feds can attack.
Okay.
You gotta be careful about using their words.
Right.
Goes into the legal, I
Okay.
guess, right?
Now, the long term, I'm not saying this is so. I'm saying the possibility is there, and it blows my mind to think that I be involved in something of that much importance. Because if you take that mark, the scripture says you're damned. I don't want to be damned, and I don't want any of my brothers and sisters in the Lord to be damned. I want them to be able to live at some level until He returns, however long we're here. Some say we'll go at the beginning, some would say we'll go at the middle, some say we'll go somewhere else, some say we'll be here through the whole thing. Whatever. There will be believers here through the whole tribulation, through the whole 7 years. And I believe we're on the cusp of the beginning of the 7 years. And I can tell you why I think that. I've studied for 46 years.
Right.
I have a good idea of what this is. Of course, I'll have to say God's missed my timetable twice already. He may miss it again, but I'm not in control.
Why don't you go ahead and tell us, reasons why you feel that? Because I feel it too. I think we're getting ready to get some tough times.
Anybody that has any sense about them at all has some feeling that we're close to the wrap-up. And if they believe anything about the Bible at all, we are in that time that God has said Jesus is going to return. And I want to be ready. And I want to be doing, the part of the last chapter of Matthew 24. Jesus said, will he find faith on the earth? And then he says, it talks about the faithful servant. This is
Discreet and faithful servant.
that is helping the people, his people. And I have prayed for years to be that, or to be one doing that. And we have assembled a team and are still in the process of assembling the team that will help accomplish this. If that's what God wants to use it for, praise God. If that's not what it's for in the long term, that's fine with me. This is not about me. This is not my deal. I've structured it in such a way that I will not get wealthy off of this. No one will get super wealthy. Nobody's going to become a billionaire as a result of what we're doing. Period. That's not what it's for. Somebody said, how many beneficiaries of your trust? I said, potentially 2 billion people. I'm done. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so let's continue on with this. When you send cryptocurrencies, there's a fee. They call it juice or gas. Somebody recently sent me $125 with a Litecoin, and the fee was about 30 cents. So it's with Litecoin, it's very reasonable, and it's usually very fast. With Litecoin, it happens in seconds. With Bitcoin, It could take hours. It could take maybe days. Anyways.
So no impulse purchases with that Bitcoin.
Cryptocurrencies are infinitely divisible. Kilobits are thousandths of a Bitcoin or 0.001 Bitcoins. It can go smaller as needed, millibits, gigabits. A Satoshi is 0.0000001 Bitcoins. Cryptocurrencies are not a debt to anyone. It's impossible to counterfeit. It can be lost if you lose your keys. There is a public key and a private key. Do not lose your private key. My contact information, my blog is sovereigntyinternational.wordpress.com. My website is sovereigntyinternational.fyi. My email address is engineerwin@yahoo.com. My YouTube profile is Sovereign Living. My Facebook community page, I deleted it due to censorship on the part of Facebook. My private group on Facebook is being deleted. Quite frankly, I haven't been to Facebook in months, and I'm not interested in going there. My free list private group is called Administrating-Your-Public-Servants. My Google private group is called Administrating-Your-Public-Servants. Follow me on Twitter at Engineer Win. Follow me on Steven, Sovereignty International. I've got a BitChute channel, and my Patreon is Sovereignty International. The ATMs, like this one that's down the street, that one down there charges 6%, and actually that one's quite reasonable compared to a lot of ATMs. Up to 14%, 6% fee is for $200 is $12. They also sell a Bitcoin at the current, over the current market rate, sometimes $200 over the market price or more. Some want to take a picture of ID, and when it gets to that point, then I go to a different ATM. I don't give them pictures of my ID. They're very easy to use. Most of them only sell Bitcoin. This one down here, you can buy Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, and something else. Can't remember what else. There was 4 of them. Anyways, there's YouTube videos that go through it in detail. So if you have questions, do some research. Go on YouTube. This is a map of the DFW area with Bitcoin ATMs. And if you look here where it shows a 3, that means there's 3 ATMs in that area. And it's not even showing the one that's over here.
That's kind of an older.
That's an older map.
Yeah.
Coinbase now wants ID. Some wallets provide for buying Bitcoin with a credit card. Many cryptocurrency exchanges have ways to buy cryptocurrencies with credit cards. Bitquick.co charge about a 1% fee, does not require identification for first small transactions. Eventually they ask for ID. Provide a bank account at a bank of your choice. We did a bunch of those. You deposit cash within 3 hours, your Bitcoin's in your wallet. So this is bitquick.co, and so they'll send you a bank account, and you go and do a cash deposit at that bank into this account number, and then you get the receipt, and you email the receipt to them, showing that you had made that deposit, and then within 2 or 3 hours, you give them the Bitcoin address you want it sent to. It'll show up in that Bitcoin and in that address. So there's a lot of ways you can do it. See here, this is one, and it's a cash deposit at Bank of America. So any Bank of America. Check out my other videos, Banks Are Thieves playlist, Roman Cult playlist, Bankrupt Corporate So-Called Governments, bar members 1 through actually 8, 1 through 8. Do it yourself, how not to volunteer for the selective service in the draft. Martial laws here, do it yourself, no income tax, do it yourself, free mail. Do it yourself, kangaroo courts, 1 through 18, Canada Border Pigs playlist, bar members and their Satanic Connections playlist. Congress has passed a law about how the border pigs are asking people about their cryptocurrencies when crossing the border. I haven't crossed the border in so long, I have no idea, but I tell them to get lost. Do not give evidence against yourself. That's the number 1 rule, is do not give evidence against yourself. If you're an American, then under a 5th Amendment, you have the right not to give evidence against yourself. Have you got a court order? Would I be asked, have you got a court order? Anyways, if you're not an American, then under the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, Article 17, it says No one shall be subjected to arbitrary and unlawful interference with his privacy, family, home, or correspondence, nor to unlawful attacks on his honor and reputation. Everyone has the right to protection of the law against such interference or attacks. And so, and have you got a court order? If you're worried, email yourself keys and delete all the wallets off your phone, which is what I was talking about. I would reset the phone before you go through customs, and that would delete everything, and then it would be blank. If you have properly backed everything up, then you should be able to restore everything after you get past the customs pigs. Congress is owned and operated by the Roman cult. Congress is the Roman cult, which is bankster thieves. Pigs in government are persons in government who intend to perjure their oath. Order followers are Satanists. See Mark Passio's YouTube channel. Mark Passio is a former Satanist priest. He's a brilliant guy, and he talks about that stuff. My history of the Jesuits is not eloquently written. It is supported by unquestionable authorities and is very particular and very horrible. Their restoration is indeed a step towards darkness, cruelty, and despotism and death. I do not like the appearance of the Jesuits, whether there's a body of men who merited eternal damnation on earth and in hell. It is the Society of Loyola, and that's John Adams, second president. Within 20 years, this country is going to rule the world. Kings and emperors will soon pass away, and the democracy of the United States will take their place. When the United States rules the world, the Catholic Church will rule the world. And that's Roman Catholic Archbishop James E. Quigley, Chicago Daily Tribune, March 5th, 1903. And there is the Roman conquest. Now that text is kind of hard to read up there like that. That's when the pimp, well, I meant the Pope. No, I meant the pimp. Went to visit Congress. And the 24th of September, this is the text. So we'll go from the, right here, we'll go from the, this text right here is pointing at this right here. So that's a Roman Achaean military staff carried in battle by all Roman commands, planted on all conquered nations. So that's what it's pointing at right here. Now I'm going to have another picture that will show it a lot more clearly. And then this text here is pointing at Biden. Devout Roman Catholic honorary degree from Jesuit Scranton University. Boy, why is that a surprise? And that's pointing at Biden here, who was vice president at the time. This one here is Roman bundle of rods bound to a weapon symbolizing subservience under the rule of a single man. That's this text right here pointing at these Roman fasci right here. And then devout Roman Catholic trained by Jesuits installed the first Jesuit chaplain to the house. You know how evil these people are. Anyways, this is this text right here pointing at Beaner, the Speaker of the House at the time. And this is a picture that is a lot clearer and easier to see. And here's that Roman staff that's planted on all conquered nations. The Roman fasci are here. Anyways, if you pull up a Bitcoin wallet, you can pull up a QR code. That's how you send Bitcoin. In other words, if you want to send me some Bitcoin, I would pull up my QR code, your phone would scan it, and then you say how much you're going to send me, and you click send. And then, oh, look at that, I got some Bitcoin. And it's that simple. You know, it really is.
Also, that flag hanging, the way it was hanging, it
Yes, I know.
means a surrendered flag.
I know.
When it's down, facing that way.
A QR code. All crypto wallets generate a QR code. You can send money using a QR code address for the wallet or the QR code. So you can type in the address or you can just scan that QR code. QR code is way easier, and so it depends on how you want to do it. The camera on your phone can scan the QR code. You can send cryptocurrency from one phone to another. You don't need anybody else involved. You just scan it, and it's all completely private. You see a QR code when you check out at Walmart. So I don't know if you've noticed that before, but when you check out at Walmart. You can transfer cryptocurrency between two people with no internet using a cell phone. The two people can be literally anywhere on the planet, 1 foot apart or on opposite sides of the planet. You can use the QR code, that's when you're 1 foot apart, or you just type in, email them the address you want it sent to. And it's not a debt to anybody, it's impossible to counterfeit, it's infinitely divisible, and it circumvents the bankster thieves. You can now get Visa and MasterCard debit cards that can be loaded with cryptocurrencies. There's new cryptocurrency products being introduced every day. Every day more merchants accept cryptocurrency. Clip High says that something will cause a bond market crash. I think that will cause a bank holiday. When the banks close for a period of time, people can still use cryptocurrencies. It doesn't matter if the banks are closed. You don't need the banks. The price of cryptocurrencies doesn't matter because they're infinitely divisible. Cryptocurrencies are about to go up a lot, in my opinion, and I really think that it's getting ready to. If you look here, I actually. This one. This is Bitcoin on the weekly chart, and so. It's the way I look at it. This is right here is a downward triangle, which means it's probably going to break down, which means that it'll go down and then everybody and their brother will be jumping in, and then it'll take off like a rocket. You watch.
So we're on that downtrend right now.
This
Yeah,
is
it'll probably go down a little bit more.
it'll probably go down, but it's actually it's right now it's at 29,301.
But as soon as people feel comfortable and it starts going up, it's going to take off.
So
See
that's
how
the
it didn't
weekly.
pass, how it skyrockets real fast.
That's the weekly chart. This is the daily chart. See, it's been basically doing, in my opinion, it's a downward triangle, but it's basically been consolidating. The way I look at it, it's consolidating. It's building energy for the next run. But again, you have to make your own decisions. You have to decide what's best for you. I cannot do it. That's the daily chart. But
So where do we buy it?
Conviction, there's
You can-
several ATMs, there's one
there's
there's
an ATM right here.
And so you can just go down there and buy right into
You feed
Bitcoin, just
money,
like
you
your.
feed
You just
cash
feed your
in
money
there.
into it.
You get a wallet set up on your phone. The machine will scan your QR code, and then your address will be in there. In this case, they'll probably want a cell phone, and so they'll want your number, and they'll send you a text. And so then they'll give you a code, and then you have to give them the code. But that's the only thing. That's why I like this ATM, quite frankly, because it's relatively anonymous. They have to do
Now,
it.
there is a camera on it, but when you're wearing a mask, they probably can't figure out what it is anyway. That's one good thing about wearing a mask, going here.
Anyways, I've done a bunch of transactions at that one, and they don't want your picture, your driver's license, or any of that crap. There's other ones that want it, and I won't do business with them. But this one here, they just want your phone number. So I give them the phone number, and they send me a text, and so then once you got the text is a code that you have to punch in, and then they scan your code, you feed in the money, and you hit enter, and it shows up on your phone. It doesn't immediately. It says within a half an hour you'll get it, which it's been pretty good. There's a number there if you have trouble, and I have actually had the network was down or something, so I called them up, and they knew about the transaction. And they told me that there's network is down, so but it'll come through, and it came through. It's no problem. So
Do you understand how to set the wallet up though? How to go pick one out?
No.
Can you do that, Glenn? Show them.
yeah.
Phone on me and.
There's a story in Bitcoin back in May 22nd, 2018, right? So that means May 22nd of 2010 is the story of the first Bitcoin transaction in which a Florida man paid for 2 pizzas with cryptocurrency Bitcoin. The day's become a part of folklore, not because of the transaction, but more because of the price. The man in question paid 10,000 Bitcoins, which today is worth more than $80 million. And that article was published in, that's May 22nd, 2018, right? So, anyways.
Where do you order that pizza? Was it Papa John's?
I don't know, it was probably.
Whoever it was, he's pretty wealthy right now. hung on to them.
So Bitcoin and any cryptocurrency is not a forced loan. Bitcoin and any cryptocurrency is not legal tender. It's just a private deal. You can accept whatever you want to accept. You do not need it to be legal tender. What you use is up to you as long as the other guy agrees to use it. That's all that matters. It's called barter. You should still have lawful money, gold and silver coin. Gold markets, silver markets, and all other markets are rigged by the Exchange Stabilization Fund. Many cryptocurrencies are manipulated, but the level of manipulation is far less than other markets. They're clearly manipulated. The Elon Musk, the reason Bitcoin, the reason it went and came down here is because Elon Musk had previously said that they'd take Bitcoin for one of their Tesla cars, and then he came out and says, well, we're not going to do that anymore, and then Bitcoin came down.
But then he went and bought a bunch.
Sorry?
Then he went and bought a bunch at the same
Oh,
time.
of course,
Yeah.
He's not a billionaire, he's smart.
Yeah, he's smart,
Yeah.
yeah. But you gotta just, you see
Right.
him playing
Yeah.
the game.
Right.
Like,
Right. His cars use a lot of silver, by the way, and he bought a bunch of silver too. He bought a bunch of silver, and that was probably a smart move. His batteries use a lot of silver. Anyways, so he's no fool, but people allow themselves to be manipulated. Anyways, gold, silver, many cryptocurrencies are manipulated, but the level of manipulation is far less than the other markets because they can't do much. They can do a few things, but they can't do much. Again, this is the halving in 2016. The recent crash was caused when Elon Musk said he would not accept cryptos for his Tesla car. The last Bitcoin crash was caused by the Mt. Gox trustee when they sold millions of dollars of Bitcoin several times in preparation to settle a bankruptcy. Big Swear has videos about it and shows the days that it happened, the move in the market, and the press releases showing what the Mt. Gox trustee was doing. I wouldn't be surprised if they got sued over that. Bix explains that normally that would be done privately to prevent the manipulation. And this is Revelations 13, 16 to 18. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in the right hand or in their forehead. I think Frank is right on the money. And if any man might buy or sell, save that he had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. Here is wisdom, let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666, that's 666. Some people say that Bitcoin is the mark of the beast, or will become the mark of the beast. You know, I have to disagree. The mark of the beast could be related to a cryptocurrency. I think that the mark of the beast has more to do with the Social Security number or a vaccination record that Bill Gates is talking about. They're talking about forced vaccinations, and if you don't have proof of vaccination, then you cannot enter into any government buildings. It's not a very big leap from government buildings to commercial buildings like stores and malls, you know, really. And it's all threats, it's all color of law. You know, that's one of my big bones of contention, is all color of law. And once you understand what's going on, it's a fraud, and you can go after them. And that's why I like going after the bar members. Are you going to say something?
I was just saying.